I treat everything in my life like an experiment. I find that it gives me this tremendous flexibility and fluidity to not be attached to an end result or a goal. I just go into it saying, let's try this for a while. Let's just experiment with it and see how it works. And some of these experiments have lasted 15 years, and some of them only last 6 months. And it's important to just kind of reevaluate as we go along and say, okay, this made sense 5 years ago, or a year ago, or last month, but does it still make sense today? And so it's just an experiment. It's nothing to be taken too seriously. We tend to think that the decisions like who to date or where to live are huge, monumental decisions that are going to completely, redefine our life and take us in a whole. And every decision you make is going to steer you in a new direction, but you can always make a new decision the next day. Right now, you can decide that tomorrow you're going to wake up in a new city and lead a new life or have a different job. We have so much power when we let go of fear, which is what's normally holding us back, of any decision being so permanent. Nothing is permanent. And anything can change in the drop of a dime, not only by itself, but we have some control over that. And we can decide one moment to say, let's experiment with this. And I've, in my life, treated everything that way. And it's given me the freedom to say, you know what, moving to this city a few years ago made sense, but now, because of my life, like I moved to Seattle. And Seattle's great. It's still my favorite city in the whole world. But at one point, I wanted to play beach volleyball every day. Now, I don't know if you know Seattle, but it rains about 11 months out of the year. And so you only have a month, maybe two, where you can actually go and play beach volleyball. And you wait all year long for that short period of time to be able to do that. And so when I got really deep into volleyball, I said, okay, Seattle is great, but it no longer serves the kind of life I want to lead. So I moved to Hawaii, which does serve that life because it's always sunny and it's always beautiful. And I did play beach volleyball every day. It was great. But then life changed again. And I wasn't clinging to Hawaii like this is where I'm going to live for the rest of my life. This is just where I was at the time. And then when I was called to go somewhere else, I went somewhere else. And this has proven true. This flexibility, this fluidity in one thing really lends itself to everything else that we do. When I took the monastic vows, I was in full monastic robes for 2 years. And that really made sense while living in the monastery. We all had the same haircut. We all had the same robes. We really visually saw what we believed, that we're all one. We're all connected. There's no difference between any of us. Literally, you walk up to the meditation hall and you don't know who it is in front of you because from the back we all looked exactly the same. But when I left the monastery and I was still in robes and at the airport or whatnot, people started treating me as if I was different from them. And I was responsible for that. I wore robes that communicated not, oh, I'm a peaceful, loving, oneness, believing person, is I'm somehow different from you. And people treated me as different. And I knew the robes had to go when a lady on the bus offered me her seat one day. I was like, okay, this is definitely not what I want. And it was my own teachers who said, why wear the robes? Why can't you just be the guy in town with the bright eyes? And my ability to let go of the robes, to just embrace just wearing jeans and a t-shirt was possible because I wasn't attached to the robes. I wasn't so married to them, so to speak. I was able to just treat it. It was an experiment. It was something that I tried, and I continued doing it as long as it worked. And the moment it didn't, I was able to let it go. And we can apply that to relationships. We can definitely apply that to jobs. And we can apply that to dietary restrictions. You try something for a while, and if it works, great. And if you find out later it doesn't work, that's fine. Making a new decision doesn't make you a bad person. I often quote a lot of the inspirational people in my life, and yet time and time again, if I quote the Dalai Lama, someone somewhere in the audience says, "Oh, I don't have any respect for any man who eats meat." And as if the fact that the Dalai Lama eats meat negates all the wonderful stuff that he does in the world. It's just, and so that to me communicates that the person saying that is the one clinging to this idea of this is the right way for everyone to be. And if I'm going to believe anything anyone says, then they have to live up to my standards, which are constantly changing. So treating everything as an experiment in our own lives really opens our heart to understand that when a close friend of ours, a family member, is doing something that we're inclined to tell them not to do, whether it's be marry someone they want, and just kind of take a step back and go, they're experimenting. This is what they're trying for a while, and they'll do it until it doesn't work. And my job as a friend is to love them through it, to be understanding and supportive. And whether they're marrying someone I don't approve of or not, and when they get divorced, my job is, again, to be there, to be loving and supportive, because that's the kind of person we want to be. And that's the kind of person we're experimenting being.